Good evening, race fans, and welcome to those of you who have joined us from Anthony Alfredo's Twitch channel, and welcome to coverage of the Esports Racing League Premier Series live tonight from Homestead Miami Speedway in Homestead, Florida, here on the ERL Twitch channel. I am James Point, the voice of Podium Esports, alongside Justin Prince and Cisco Scaramouza, as always, punching buttons up with the virtual production trailer. And Justin, I think we've seen so much racing from Homestead over the course of the past few days. Obviously, the eNASCAR Pro Invitational iRacing Series being the big story, the big show on Sunday. It told us a lot about what we can expect from this track, but for everybody that ran NIS last week and everybody that was involved there, I think there's plenty of experience to go around with Homestead. It's just a matter of how this race pans out amongst the field.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be an interesting race for many of these competitors to see who will be able to use a lot of the experience from this racetrack and be able to come up on top. This is a track, mind you, that sees a lot of good racing action, a lot of potential groups that pop up in turns 1 and 2, but is also one that has a high amount of tire wear. So in turn, if you're able to save your equipment, but also be able to manage the traffic and be able to race your way up to the front early on, you're in a good situation to battle for the win.
And I think the other thing to note here, especially at Homestead Miami, the wear on the right front tire in particular on long green flag runs is just absolutely murderous. Now, we might not necessarily have to worry about that all that much because this is a short sprint race. It's effectively the length of a day fixed race at Homestead Miami, but at the same time, still something that you have to be mindful of if you're driving in this race tonight.
Yeah, I have to be very mindful of that, but you also be very mindful of the championship standings because it is pretty tight, especially amongst the top 5. Jimmy Mullis, Graham Bowen, Alex Bell, Brandon McKissick, and Brian LaPrade covered by just 13 points in total spread in the standings. All 5 of those drivers have performed very well with an average top 10 finish throughout the season. But keep an eye on Braxton DeWeese. He was fast in quick warm-ups for tonight. Nick Olson, Greg McConey, James Lowe, and Zach Novak rounding out the top 10 of the point standings, James.
Pretty impressively tight standings there, in particular between that Mullis, Boland, McKissick group, as we show you where we are in the world, and we go way, way, way down south. Not terribly far away from the beginning of the Florida Keys. We are south of Miami proper. This Homestead Miami Speedway, so you go way down into South Florida to find this racetrack that opened up in 1995. It was part of the rebuilding effort and one of the economic stimuli that Miami-Dade County proposed in the wake of Hurricane Andrew's devastation back in 1992, and has now become the home of racing, especially for stock cars in South Florida, for the past 25 years as Homestead celebrates its 20th anniversary this year. It's time to take a look at the starting grid and tell you where your favorite driver will begin tonight's race. Brendan Kohler will roll off from the P1 spot. P2 belongs to Briar LaPrade, Patriot Briar, the 19. Third will be Braxton DeWeese, who came off of a decent run in NIS just a little bit ago. Nick Olson in the 24 will start in the 4th spot. 5th will be Alex Bell in the 15. Greg McConey rolls off from the 6th spot. 7th will be Jarrett Liebert, who had a pretty strong run in the eNASCAR Racing Road to Pro last night at Rockingham in the top split. Brandon McKissick will start from 8th, 9th with the Richmond Raceway Esports driver Jimmy Mullis. His teammate at Richmond Raceway Esports, Zach Novak, will start from 10th, and 11th on the grid will be Caden Rush. As we take a look at the track facts, this is Homestead Miami Speedway in Homestead, Florida. It is a 1.5 mile, 2.4 kilometer oval that opened up in 1995 and has been reconfigured twice. Once in 1997 to turn what was originally shaped like Indianapolis Motor Speedway into a more traditional oval shape, and again in 2003 to bring the track to the current spec that you see here, in which there are 18 to 20 degrees of banking in the corners, and it is progressive. You get more banking as you go further up the track, and 3 degrees of banking on the front straight and back straight. In sim, it is currently 4 o'clock on the default day, May 15, 2020. Weather balmy for South Florida. 90 degrees Fahrenheit air temp, 121 degrees track temp, so it is warm. Winds to the north, 5 miles an hour, and a humidity of 55%. Tonight we go for 55 laps, 82.5 miles, or 132 kilometers. We have 3 attempts at a green-white checker, and tire wear. Justin Prince, I have to believe, is going to be the story.
Yeah, it's going to be a major factor the longer the runs go off in this race. The more we see the drivers who push too hard at the start of the race or try and go for the full throttle much of the laps here, James, are the ones that are eventually by lap 20, lap 25, are going to be dropping back through the field. So many of these drivers are going to be going maybe half throttle, 60% throttle throughout the corners in the first 10 laps to make sure they can have speed for laps 20 all the way to the checker.
Waiting for the pace car to pull off as Brendan Kohler in the 36 will lead the field to green for round 5 of the Esports Racing League from Homestead, Miami, and we're underway. It was a great start, just a little bit behind this group. How about the 24 machine? Look at Nick Olson make the move down to the bottom immediately. In the meantime, Alex Bell taking Braxton DeWeese 3 wide, a little bit of contact in the middle as Olson and the 15 machine come together, and Olson up on the fence, and what was a great start for Nick Olson in the 24 immediately falls apart within about half a lap, Justin Prince.
Yeah, that went from great to horrific in just the span of a few moments. But really, it was a chain reaction situation. DeWeese, I believe, may have got a little tiny bit of contact to the back bumper. That's what moved him down into the 3-wide situation with Bell, who was trying to charge up the inside. And by the time he tried to save it forward, he gets bumped by Moas. That gives him an extra little bit of a shot, destroys his race car, and already potentially takes him out of contention this race. That's also going to significantly hurt Moas since the Coca-Cola, the energy machine, has already nearly lost the draft.
Mullis is already way back of this. He's about 0.6 of a second back of Caden Rush, who was the last car in this line. Meanwhile, Brendan Kohler up at the front has extended his lead out to 0.4 of a second and is beginning to gap Briar LaPrade. Kohler was about a tenth faster than LaPrade on that last lap. Meanwhile, Greg McConey in the 16 trying to get the momentum on the high side to go alongside the 87 of Brandon McKissick as they enter turn 3.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Kohler is on the long run, though, because the best drivers I've noticed when it comes to Homestead Miami Speedway are the ones who are able to maintain speed on corner entry all the way up to the apex, where by the time they get back on the gas normally, they're able to get such a good amount of momentum off the corner that they end up balancing out whatever losses they normally have potentially off the corners. So he's in that situation where he's doing that pretty well in the short run. It's just a matter, though, of will he be able to do it on the long run, as Zach Novak is already 7 positions up to the field.
Beware of that 90 machine. We don't need to tell you what kind of prowess Zach Novak has here at Homestead. He only went out and won the season finale of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series last October to become a series champion for the first time in his career. And now here comes the 90 machine already on the charge and trying to run down the 19 of Briar LaPrade for that second spot. Good battles, though, a little bit further back, though. Jared Liebert in the 34, Alex Bell in the 15, Brandon McKissick in the 87, all right there, all side by side, fighting for position exiting turn 4.
Yeah, and some drivers not being patient early on. Caden Rush, one of those drivers in that Halloween machine. And he's, mind you, one of the drivers that, over the time I've seen him race, can be someone that can be an aggressor. Showing what he wants to do right now, that's get valuable track position.
Pretty special paint scheme. Obviously more based off of Ben Rhodes' 99 truck from last year, but always cool to see any form of Texaco or Havoline involved in NASCAR. And you think of the drivers who have run a black paint, red numbered Texaco Havoline, some combo of car in any form of NASCAR competition, and the list is pretty illustrious when it starts with Davey Allison and includes the likes of Ricky Rudd, Kenny Irwin, Jimmy McMurray, amongst others. All have run one of the most iconic paint jobs in the history of NASCAR.
Yeah, such an iconic sponsor, mind you, in this sport as well, especially with all those names you mentioned there. But now it's going to be interesting for the race tempo, though, here, James, because a lot of these drivers are settling down. The only one that hasn't taken a deep breath, it seems, has been Rush in this field. Gave a little bit of a shot nearly to the back end of McKissick's Nexus Esports machine.
Here comes Zach Novak out of the inside. He's got Brian LaPrade stuck up high as the 90 tries to drive it deep into the corner and does. And there goes Zach Novak right past Brian LaPrade, no problem. And Novak in the number 90 machine is up into the second spot ahead of LaPrade. Meanwhile, battle for third between Brandon McKissick and Caden Russ, fourth rounder. And you also can't count out Jared Liebert in there as well.
Yeah, Liebert, a very solid driver, and bit of contact. McKissick scraping the outside wall, went too high off on the exit of turn 2, and now he's got significant aero damage. McKissick could be in trouble for this long run. That damage, as we talked about many times, can put you down on straight line speed. McKissick's now in that situation where he might potentially fall back here in a few laps.
He might potentially fall back in a few laps as Novak continues to run ahead of Brian LaPrade. Meanwhile, battle is on. It's McKissick who was giving up spots to Caden Rush, who is damaged to the right side of his number 77, and Jarrett Liebert in the fifth spot rather at 34, actually looking mostly clean as he makes contact with Caden Rush, and Rush goes around and the yellow flag comes out at Homestead, Miami. But that was a pretty simple incident, Justin Prince. Liebert just got into the corner a little bit too hot and got into the left rear quarter panel of the number 77.
Yeah, it's almost like Liebert let the car roll in on the entry, but the second the car just got a pop in the exhaust, that's where it just gave a little extra bit of momentum right to the back bumper. And now Rush, who is showing a lot of aggression early on, has a demolished race car.
77 machine definitely a little bit torn up in the rear end, damage to the left rear of that Chevrolet Camaro. In the meantime, it does allow for Zach Novak to catch up to Brendan Kohler. That'll be an interesting one because Novak was setting some of the fastest laps in the field. He was 2/10 quicker than Kohler that last lap before the yellow flag. So we'll have to keep our eyes on the number 90 machine as everyone comes down pit road for the first time.
Yeah, in this situation, wouldn't be surprised to see everyone take 4 tires just to make sure that they don't have any balance issues. 2 tires, very much so a risk here at Homestead Miami Speedway. But it's going to be interesting when we get back in the green to see who's good again on the short run, because as we've seen, a lot of drivers were able to gain a lot of track position in that span of 10-12 laps.
It was pretty well strung out amongst the front of the field, but once you got towards the mid-pack, there was a lot of jockeying and trading and shuffling for positions, so certainly not out of the realm of possibility here, but we can see a little bit more of that once we get back to green flag racing. Is a pretty good shot for Brian LaPrade, who jumps out ahead of Zach Novak on pit road. So LaPrade up 1, Novak down 1. Then Greg Marconi putting together one of the best runs of his season so far. He currently holds the 4th spot, was also 4th off of pit road. Then Jimmy Mullis, then Alex Bell, then Brandon McKissick getting a little bit of damage repaired, as was Braxton Deweese and Jarrett Liebert.
Yeah, and Liebert, I think, knows he was potentially at fault with that and might be double-checking things and saying, you know what, may as well go to the back of the field for the time being. But he's going to have to hurry to get back to the race car before he ends up falling a lap down at this point. Because as we've seen in many of these races so far, the tendency has been for them to go clean and green. This is one of the first caution flags in a few races at least here, James.
We'll see whether or not we get any yellows as Liebert just comes out of pit road, and I don't think he's going to make it out before, and does indeed reset everything and won't get out before he goes a lap down, so he'll need another yellow flag, and Liebert has pulled it behind the wall and is done for the evening. He tried to get out before the pace car, but just wasn't able to get out in time as the lights are off on the pace car, and it will be Brendan Kohler, then Brian LaPrade, Zach Novak, Greg Marconi, Jimmy Mullis, Brandon McKissick, Braxton Deweese, Alex Bell, and Caden Rush. Your top 9 as Liebert and Nick Olson have already pulled their machines behind the wall.
Yeah, and one thing to know, we're hearing with Braxton Deweese having right front damage on his number 8 machine in P number 7. He's currently in a tight situation here, James. So many of these cars that might have gotten aero damage already early on, already feeling the ramifications if they haven't had the chance to get much of it repaired before this green flag.
Waiting to see what Kohler will do, waiting to see how this is going to shake out, waiting to see if Zach Novak's got the same sort of speed that he had on that last green flag run. Restart to come on lap 14 of 55. Kayla with the jump. He'll go. Pretty good restart for that number 36. And the 90 of Zach Novak will follow in hot pursuit. They both got great jumps by Brian LaPrade. Meanwhile, there goes Brandon McKissick at the 87 underneath Greg McConey in the 16 as LaPrade is a little bit slow to get up to speed on the top side. And Novak immediately jumps to second and will now set his sights on Brendan Kohler for the race lead. As there goes Caden Rush and Greg McConey down to the inside, and they spin off the main racing surface. So no yellow flag, but there was contact out of turn 2 that started all that, Justin Prince.
Yeah, multiple drivers went plowing tight all the way up towards the outside wall. McConey was just got the worst of it because he followed both Toyota Camrys in front of him all the way up the track of the arrow. By the time he tried to snap it back towards the straightaway, there were cars underneath him, and he just came right across a couple bumpers to bring up the caution as the leaders continue to scrap meanwhile.
Leaders are continuing to scrap it now. Brandon McKissick and Zach Novak are right on the rear bumper of Brendan Kohler for the race lead. Alex Bell with a pretty heavy dive into the corner, and he actually is going to clear. I believe that was Jimmy Mullis or Brian LaPrade. One of the two is Mullis, or LaPrade rather. LaPrade and Mullis been running nose to tail. Now here comes Alex Bell to the inside. Look at the inside of the 87, and they come together. And Brandon McKissick will slide further back in the field as LaPrade, I think, just barely avoided hitting the wall to avoid all of that all the way up top. And Bell now with damage to his 15 machine. He'll slide back on the inside, and not for the first time tonight, Justin Prince, we're seeing drivers get into each other and diving in a little bit too deep on corner entry.
Yeah, that time I think it was more so Bell just trying to force himself 3 wide in what was normally a 2 wide situation, trying to gain track position. But now he's got that aero damage we talked about on that front fender that's going to really slow him down, already putting him up for grabs for an attack on Jimmy Mullis, who has the preferred line of the bottom.
Jimmy Mullis had a shot at the bottom and then decided to get back in line. Meanwhile, guess who's on the rear bumper of the race leader again? It's Zach Novak in that number 90 machine, continuing to press and force the issue as Novak now running down the 36 of Brendan Kohler and putting all sorts of pressure on the race leader to maintain his line and keep his spot on top. Meanwhile, Brian LaPrade started to drag himself back into the battle for the race lead as well, and Alex Bell has started dragging himself up to Brian LaPrade's rear bumper, and that's where you'll find the battle for P3, at least for the moment, and then Bell slides back in line.
I'm surprised, actually, these drivers are going all the way up to the Larson line here. That something is not what you usually see here these days at Homestead, but all this is set up 3 wide between Mullis on the bottom, inside, Bell outside, LaPrade as Novak charges to the lead.
Didn't even think about it twice. Just said, you know what, I'm coming big on the high side. I'm going to make it happen, and I'm going to dive it down in deep and then slide up right in front of you to take P1. That's exactly what the Richmond Raceway Esports driver has done, and he's got that Sunoco Toyota Camry up in the front for the moment. But here comes Brendan Kohler with the same exact move that Novak pulled in turn 1, in turn 3, and Kohler is now the driver who will have the lead, but for how long?
These aren't drivers that are conserving their equipment. These are drivers that are fighting like it's the last lap right now, James. The way they're trying to slide job one another, but that's what you expect to see potentially from some of these drivers, knowing the importance of track position and getting some space on these passes. Wouldn't be surprised to see another opportunity like that coming in a moment. Mullis is now trying that bottom line.
Mullis now looking down the inside. Novak had some success with it for a moment. Mullis will try and pull the same, but you just can't get the run of the momentum if everybody decides to go up high as the teammates make contact just a little bit. Alex Bell now to the top side, trying to take away the spot from Jimmy Mullis. That would be for third if the 15 can make it happen, and he's going to go right in between the Richmond Raceway Esports teammates. 3 wide coming out of turn 2.
And Mullis, rightfully so, just decides, you know what, I'm going to back out of this for a moment and let Bell fight here. Bell's actually done an impressive job with all this fighting. It's been able to slow cars up a little bit to set up opportunities for the race lead. Bell all the way to the front.
Went all the way to the middle of the racetrack, and Brendan Kohler now to the inside is going to do the same thing that everybody's telling you for the past few laps. Dive it in deep, slide back up into the main racing line, and see if you could hold off the driver behind you on the next straightaway. So can Brendan Kohler keep Alex Bell at bay as Zach Novak all of a sudden has fallen back and is now holding off his teammate and Brian LaPrade in the 19 machine to be Mullis in the middle of that Toyota sandwich.
This This is some absolutely great racing at the moment here. Everybody's being bulled here. And Novak now looks to be the aggressor. We've seen how hard he floored it to the bottom. He's doing it again for the lead.
Went all the way down to the bottom and past 2 cars to jump up and get the lead. Here comes Alex Bell with a big run down to the inside. Kohler is stuck up top. He'll run right behind the 90 machine and a side draft to the 36. Just look at how quickly it slowed down to 15, at least for a moment. And then Alex Bell decides to dive it in deep. Can he get back up in front of Novak before Novak gets the momentum up top with that high corner exit? He will indeed. So Bell will have the spot for the moment, but here comes Novak to the inside as Bell goes down the block, and he gives Novak the top side instead.
Now this is absolutely incredible. Bell, I think, knows many of these drivers need the middle or the bottom to set up passes. Bell, though, scraped the wall, lost a lot of momentum. Here comes second and third.
The teammates from Richmond Raceway Esports. Jimmy Mullis now with a big move to the inside as Bell went down to the bottom to try and block Novak, and now we'll get the run on Mullis, who will slide up high. There goes Bell to the inside to take the lead back once again.
This is absolutely incredible. Bell, though, is in a great position. Don't forget, there's a lap car just in front of these guys here, too, in Caden Rush. And that's going to make things even more crazier in about a couple laps or so, the way they're going.
Have to believe you're right about that. I've been watching Caden Rush. He's only maybe about 5 or 6 car lengths ahead of your race leader, Lisa Romans. As here comes Brandon McKissick Brendan Kendall from about maybe 4 cars back. He went way deep into the corner to take the lead momentarily off the corner. And then there goes Alex Bell and Jimmy Mullis to his inside to get it right back from him.
Oh boy, and now Caden Rush is in a situation I don't think he wanted to be. He might be a factor in all this battling here, coming to 30 laps to go. They nearly went 3 wide onto his back bumper, and it looks like Bell trying to use that slipstream off of Rush's car to get an advantage here.
So Caden Rush is going to drop down to the bottom. Zach Novak in the 90 is the one who's stuck behind the 77. As Rush actually got a really good run off the corner. I think Bell got tight on corner exit, but he's giving the leaders the outside lane, which I think, given the way this track is racing right now, is probably the smart thing to do if you're a lap car. Just go down to the bottom, let the leaders have their fun up top, and you can get past on the inside and not be a factor. This is Zach Novak slides up in front of Alex Bell, who got tight in the middle of the corner exit off of turn 2 once again.
Unbelievable racing here. Look at Bell again sending it hard. And Rush, with all that damage, is able to just floor it by everybody else to get his lead lap back. Or one of them back, rather, as he finally backs off.
Talk about heavyweights just throwing blow after blow after blow. You see everybody diving down to the inside, sliding up the racetrack from the driver behind. The one who just made the pass does the exact same thing in the opposite corner as Novak and Bell trade the lead on the front and the back stretch, and it just keeps going again and again and again and again and again, and it makes me wonder who's going to time all these moves right. Justin Prince to be the one in front when we get across the start-finish line. At this point, it may end up being a timing thing more than anything else.
Yeah, this is absolutely incredible. I'm surprised that they've been able to fight like this for so long with so many moves like this. And so many drivers have been able to make the top side work in the first place to set up these opportunities. Eventually, these tires are going to melt off, I have to think. But right now, they aren't even thinking of that. They're just trying to have as much fun as they can here with all this fighting. It looks like Bell's now in a good position, though, to give some drivers some dirty air here, or at least settle down for the next lap or two.
Caden Rush is just going to lay out the throttle and let everybody go by, so he really wants out of the way and doesn't want to be a factor in this battle. Meanwhile, it's still Alex Bell up in front, but Jimmy Mullis now has the outside. Bell dropped down to the bottom to try and get a better corner exit. Mullis is going to have the momentum coming off the corner, and they trade lanes. There goes Bell to make the block to the inside. He tried to get in front of Jimmy Mullis, but pulled out of the way before he got turned, and Bell just stopped. Dead stop to the corner, and Zach Novak almost had to check up. Benani almost ran into the rear of the 15. Meanwhile, Jimmy Mullis now has the race lead from Alex Bell.
Oh, look at that, though. Bell, I think, checked up because he wanted to try and get as much of a burst he could off the corner to set up the entry this time. And now he's in the lead again. Just absolutely unbelievable.
everybody putting the top line to good use side by side. A little bit further back, Brendan Kohler is there. Zach Novak is there. Brian LaPrade is there, as is Brandon McKissick in the 87. Those four all racing for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. As Jimmy Monas and Alex Bell are just ahead of them. They fan out. It's 2 and 3 wide. Maybe 6 cars fighting for the race lead to Homestead, Miami. There goes Kohler to the inside with a deep dive.
And he probably is going to send it again the way this is shaping out. Yes, indeed. But again, now with some of these tires starting to wear in, having to get off the gas a little bit more than these drivers were 10 laps ago.
What a save from Alex Bell, who should have been dead to rights. Brandon McKissick got into him coming off of turn 2, and he kept it straight some way, somehow, but not before Brian LaPrade jumps ahead of him. Now it's LaPrade and Brendan Kohler racing for the lead. They almost go 3 wide. Here comes Jimmy Mullis, who's going to dive down to the bottom, and Alex Bell went all the way down to the apron to block.
This is absolute madness at this point. Again, Bell in a great spot. Again, as you can see, that's why in a lot of cases these drivers prefer that line just at the edge of that first seam. But many have been able to find a way to get the top line to work and rim line their way around. My goodness, Caden Rush in all this too is making things really interesting, taking it 3 wide with the race leaders.
Rush has decided to jump back ahead of everybody. I don't necessarily know if he knows where he wants to be in all this, and we still have 20-plus laps of this kind of racing left to go. And if these top 6 carry on, we might be in for one of the best races of the season, maybe one of the best races of the year. Not the biggest of fields tonight here in the ERL Premier Series, but that has not detracted from the action that we've seen as Bell goes all up to the top, and Mullis swings right down to the bottom. It was a hard left the 46 took to get underneath the 15. He wasted no time and taking advantage of his momentum and running down to the bottom of 3 and 4 and sliding up in front of the 15 to take the lead for the moment. But here comes Bell on the inside to fight back.
And Bell might actually use Rush here as a pick, yes. Forced Mullis to check up hard to try and avoid the lap car. But Bell can't get to the top line because Rush is still trying to rim ride at all of this. So the leaders still lose momentum once again. But that's the kind of gamesmanship you potentially have when you have a lap car that can be used in these types of situations, who has been such a factor in this type of race.
And here comes Brandon McKissick now with the race lead. They just keep on cycling through all these cars. And it seems like everybody's getting their turn at the front, especially with the 77 right there blocking the preferred top lane. He was down on the bottom, then he went down to the inside. Now he was on the bottom and on the inside. Now is up at the top again. Meanwhile, Brandon McKissick is gone to the front and jumps ahead of Alex Bell for P1, and they're all in line for the moment. Jimmy Willis, though, with the momentum, looks to the inside of Bell, who goes down to block. So Willis will go high into turn 3.
Again, though, it looks like everybody just trying to back off the gas hard to stay on that top line. But look at how much momentum McKissick got to try and get the pass back to take the lead of the straight.
There goes Brandon McKissick to the race lead. Mullis down to the inside. They almost get into Brandon McKissick. Bell had to check up hard to make sure he didn't run into the back of the 87. Mullis then carries his momentum down on the inside to the race lead. Tried to drag his teammate Zach Novak with him. McKissick will have the run on top. It's all about momentum here in Homestead, Miami. Alex Bell carries his momentum with Zach Novak and toe down to the inside. He'll slide up in front of Jimmy Mullis to take P1.
I don't know if this is going to stick the way this has been going, though, off of turn 4. Look at that bold move from Mullis. Again, they're not willing to back off on the momentum. This is like a Coke Series race, the way this is shaping up.
All over the place, back and forth, sliding up in front of one another. Alex Bell to the top to take the lead. Mullis with a huge head of steam coming off of two tires in the grass. The left sides weren't even on the racetrack. Here comes Brendan Kohler to the inside of the 87 of McKissick. They were 3 wide there for third for just a moment.
Just absolute bonkers between these drivers at the moment. Mullis again gets clear. Here comes Bell. This time elects to take the momentum to the rear end. Novak elects to take his momentum to the rear end of Bell. And now they're starting to try and pinch one another. Problem is, though, Bell, he's trying to block 2 lanes at once. McKissick makes it 3 wide for the lead again.
3 wide for second between McKissick, Bell, and Novak. Here comes Mullis to the inside and might just have the opportunity to clear Caden Rush, and it may separate him from this pack. It might give him some breathing room as Rush gets in the fence in the middle of the corner. Meanwhile, McKissick with good speed down on the bottom. Bell trying to figure out whether or not he wants to be inside, outside, or stuck in the middle. He races alongside the 87, and Zach Novak goes down to the bottom, and Caden Rush threw the block on the 90 machine and said, absolutely not. You will not pass me yet.
It almost looked like Novak sent him off like a curling rock or something into the corner. But now the teammates get to scrap side by side, and Rush again is a factor here. Dirty air for Mullis. Novak with clean air on the bottom side once again. Now 3 wide again for second position on back. This is still getting dicey here. A potential dive might be coming again.
20 laps to go at Homestead, Miami, as Caden Rush tries to figure out where he wants to be. Still Novak now to the inside. Here comes Alex Bell, 3 wide for second as Zach Novak gets into the 77, and Brandon McKissick goes down to the inside, retaining wall, and Novak hits it as well. Those two spin off the racetrack. Rush gets out of the way. It's now a 4-car fight for the race lead as Novak and McKissick are effectively out of contention for the race win after that incident off of turn 2, and then Cola gets into Alex Bell. They almost wreck once again off of turn 4.
And it looks like we might have reached the breaking point of the craziness here all of a sudden. There, Novak made that contact with the lap car. Now LaPrade all of a sudden, he's been quiet in this whole entire battle. He might have some of the best tires left in this entire field. Problem's going to be, will we be able to have the most amount of momentum to hold off Mullis and Co.?
I almost wonder if Breyer might have taken the smart strategy here and just laid back for a little bit while everybody fought in front of him, and then decided to make sure he hung on until he was one of the last cars standing, and then maybe make his charge at that point. But they all have to run down Jimmy Mullis at the moment. The 46 machine is your race leader. Here comes Kohler to the inside of the 19, though. Alex Bell following suit, running that middle groove, will go alongside Brian LaPrade for P3 as Kohler tried to get the momentum off the corner but just couldn't get a run whatsoever, and Mullis will maintain P1 going into the corner.
And look at this again. LaPrade again squeezes the hole. These drivers are just mashing the gas, trying to carry as much momentum as they can to the point where they need to lift to make the end of the apex off. And that's allowing them these gigantic runs on the bottom side at 183 miles an hour. That's what's setting up all this crazy battling, all these positions. Bell again just tried to do the same thing, only at 179.
Bell trying to dive it down and get in front of Jimmy Mullis as red and color hits the wall, and Mullis goes into the fence, and now Mullis hits the inside wall on the backstretch, and both Richmond Raceway Esports drivers in trouble in this one. Contact off of turn 2 once again, and Brian LaPrade all of a sudden finds himself in the race lead with the cleanest car of the top 3.
Absolutely horrific luck there for Mullis, to say the very least, there with the 36 just tapping the wall down the middle of the straightaway, just trying to keep up with the battle, and just might have had a little bit of a bobble off the corner that set up that hit to the wall, and Mullis couldn't lock it up in time with that grass being so slippery. It just sent his car at a very rapid amount of speed into the inside. All of this is while it's now a 3-horse race for the win.
Well, in fairness to Jimmy Mullis, there wasn't really much I think he could have done, because Goldar bounced off the wall coming out of 2, and it was that rebound off the wall that shot the 36 into Jimmy Mullis. So you have no idea. You can't see once. You can't defend against a move that you can't see coming. That's exactly the situation that Jimmy Mullis found himself in. He had no idea that Brendan Kohler was going to bounce off the fence and into his 46 machine. So nothing he really could have done at that point, and just an unfortunate break for Mullis and for Novak as well, who made contact with the lap car of Caden Rush just a few laps before, and within about a 5-lap stretch, both of the Richmond Raceway Esports Toyotas fall out of contention for the race win.
Yeah, and this could have a huge amount of implications for the point standings, remember, too, because Mullis came in first in points. He's now off the track. Bolin didn't make the start. He was second in points. Bell, he's in a great position here with all this fighting and the rest of his championship competitors being outside the lead car battle to beat the points leader by the end of this race.
Bell would be in very good shape as it stands if he can hang on to P2. That's the big key in all of this, as Brian LaPrade is still leading this race. We know Patriot Fire is probably in a good spot here, and he's got about 50 people watching on his own personal channel, in addition to all of you watching here on the ERL Twitch channel, as LaPrade trying to come away with his first victory in this series, but he'll still have to hang on. Here comes Alex Bell trying to take away P1 from the inside.
And I think this is right now showing where the tires have gone at this point with how aggressive these drivers were. I don't know if they are going to be able to send it like they were before. Another thing too, Bell has both of his fenders crushed in right now. That's going to definitely be affecting how that car is feeling to try and even set up something like that for the corner entry anymore. As talked about when Deweese had his aero damage on those same fenders, he got aero tight. Bell looks like he's getting a bit tight.
Two questions in my mind as we look at Alex Bell's machine. One is the aero question with the damage that he already has that you just brought up, Justin Prince. The second is with all those dives to the inside and all those shots way down to the bottom just to slide back up, how much rubber and how much good does he have left on that right front tire? We know that Homestead is very, very tricky and very hard on those right fronts. If he's burned it all off trying to get around people on the bottom, he may not have anything left to try and get around Brian LaPrade at the end of this race to win it.
I don't think he has enough good year Eagles left on him, along with the 36 at this point, because they were the most aggressive by far out of that entire grouping. LaPrade was the most conservative, and he's showing his comfort here. Bell, though, still finds something to send it underneath to take the lead and prove us wrong right at the right moment.
Brian LaPrade now charging and now making a move as he's got to find a way to get around Alex Bell and managed to find his 15 down to the inside and find a way to the front of this as they work within the final 5 laps at Homestead, Miami. And it's still any one of these front 3 that can win this as Bell twitched to the inside, tried to block the 19 of LaPrade. Here comes Brendan Kohler to the outside, trying to find a way around the 19 all the way up on the wall, the Kyle Larson line. But Bell still has the lead. LaPrade and Kohler will have the momentum. Can they get to the 15 before they get to turn 1?
I think right now, if I'm LaPrade, you have one chance, and that might have gone to the window with the 36 taking the opportunity to go low.
Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see. Kohler trying to keep the momentum up on bottom, but he didn't have enough speed to stay alongside the 15 machine. So LaPrade will go to the outside in second, but now big move from the 36 to jump up ahead of Bell. And then he tries to stop in the middle of the corner, and that might have slowed up Alex Bell just a little bit, but not enough to keep the 15 in bay. Here comes Bell to the inside. Where does LaPrade go? All the way to the bottom of the racetrack, and Bell throws the block as they go 3 wide for a moment for the race lead.
And I think at that point, there goes the give and take right there. If I'm LaPrade, I'm expecting him to potentially dive it hard. If there's another block, he might actually give a bump draft to Bell, because Bell, he's trying to break up this slipstream as much as he can to hold on. Here's the
big send from Brian LaPrade to jump up in front of Alex Bell, who gets sent into the fence by Brendan Kohler, and Bell slides down to the wall. Kohler slides on the racetrack, and Brian LaPrade, I think, may have survived, and all I think he has to do now is hang on for the last 2 laps, and he will be a winner in the Esports Racing League Premier Series.
LaPrade was the most conservative out of all of the drivers, seeing the good in his tires, and showed why there was the importance of doing that with all the dive bombs. He looked comfortable despite being one of the drivers who have had a lot of dirty air, and now the drivers that showed the most aggression lost themselves the chance to be in his draft. They're 1.3 seconds back, coming to the white flag.
White flag for Brian LaPrade and that Ledford Billiard Supply Toyota Camry, and it is a classic tale of the tortoise and the hare. There were many hares in the front 6 or 7 who all decided to go crazy in the middle part of this race and just went too aggressive too early and cost themselves a shot as they battle for second place. They're side by side for P2 at the moment, but it's all Brian LaPrade going into 3.
LaPrade looking like he is nice and comfortable. That fighting, securing what was a possibility tonight, and now becomes a big-time moment.
Briar LaPrade wins the Esports Racing League Premier Series event at Homestead Miami Speedway over Alex Bell and Brendan Kohler in that number 36 machine. And race of the year for ERL, hands down. I don't think there's any question in my mind about that. Homestead Miami just lends itself to good mile-and-a-half racing. And we saw so many people sliding down the track, up the track, down the track again, 2 wide, 3 wide, contact off the corner, everybody all over the place. But in the end, Briar LaPrade comes away with his first victory in the ERL.